Hello and welcome again to another episode of Basic Business Concepts for the Average Person. My name is Dr. Wilbert Connor. Today we're going to be looking at factors that influence what we buy. Factors that influence what we buy. We're going to be looking at 6 factors that influence or impact what we buy. All right, it's going to be interesting. Listen all through. As consumers, we have needs. We all have needs. These needs may be physical in nature, such as satisfying our hunger. We have need for comfort, so we rent or we buy a house. We buy a car for out of necessity, for transportation, to go to work, or for pleasure. There is a psychological needs. For example, we may purchase or rent a movie just to relax our minds. Whatever the need is, it has to be satisfied, and I'm sure you will agree. So again, we're going to look at these basic business concepts that affect our daily living. Today, again, as I said, factors that influence what we buy. Sellers, that is retailers such as the supermarkets, the filling stations, wholesalers, and the service providers such as the medical doctor, the educational institutions, marketing firms, the internet and the phone companies, transportation providers such as taxis, Uber, Lyft, etc. all position themselves to meet our needs on a daily basis. As individual consumers, we are unable, underline this, we are unable to meet our varied needs. That is by ourselves. So an individual may be a butcher, an individual may be a teacher, a farmer, a plumber, etc. But we're not all of these together. Today's sophisticated society makes us depend on others to meet our needs. So therefore, there are different specialists who provide goods and services. So what are the factors that influence or determine which goods and services that we buy? As I said, there are 6 of them, and the 6 are money, price, perceived quality, marketing power, brand, tastes, and peripheral factors like family and friends. We'll look at these in detail. Firstly, let us look at money. Money, 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 money. You know that. That is the amount of money we possess at any given point in time. Whether it is in cash, the credit card, etc. The amount we can obtain from our moms and our dads on a regular basis. Please note, disposable income is what governs our ability to buy things. In other words, the money you have, that's what you can use to make your purchases. For example, if I have $300, after I pay my bills and my required financial commitments are met, I can then spend it or save it. Some of us may give it to charity, etc. Spend, not waste. So money, the amount of money we have, the disposable income, that is what allows us to, in part, buy things, or one of the determining factors that allows us to buy what we need. Secondly, we look at price. You will recall in the previous video that we looked at equilibrium price. And the equilibrium price is determined by demand and supply. Demand can increase demand can decrease. Supply can increase, supply can decrease. And this affects, or the changes or the movement in the supply and demand curve, they affect equilibrium price. And of course, the equilibrium price is the price that we pay for the goods and services on a day-to-day basis. So we can take a brief look at the diagram or revisit the diagram again. Have a close look. We all want to get the best value for our money. We look out for sales, clearance sales, when goods are less expensive. In other words, we can increase our purchase because they are less expensive and therefore increasing the quantity that we buy. We travel further and more often when the price of gas is cheaper. When airline tickets are cheaper, we fly more. We look for this time of the year when the price of the ticket is cheaper, for example, during the winter, etc. Sometimes we don't care what AAA says. We travel. Right? Sometimes we sacrifice quality for price, but it all boils down to the price. This is what impacts you. Whether consciously or subconsciously, you look at the price of the item before you buy. Ever wonder why the price of gas is lower by 10 cents at the gas station compared to the one across the street? Let us look at some possible reasons. Again, we're talking about price. To attract you as the consumer, the price of gas is cheaper by 10 cents. You go across to the gas station where it's cheaper by 10 cents. But the filling station owner may lower the price to attract you so that you get into the store and you do some spontaneous shopping. You may buy a drink. You may buy a snack that goes along with the drink, and so on and so forth. So instead of making a big markup on the price of gas, the filling station owner will make more money in other areas, such as the snacks, as I just mentioned. Generally speaking, sometimes consumers prefer goods and services that are lower priced. This is true. However, we must be cognizant of the fact that the price can increase when the service provider adds value. For example, you go to a car rental company, you rent a basic car. When you get there, you say, I would like certain features. And then you pay for an upgrade to a full-size car with more features. You pay for the additional features. So there is added value. And because there is added value, you pay a little more for the price of the car per day, whatever the rate is. However, we also have to look at an anomaly. And I'm sure you know where I'm going. You may have heard of ostentatious goods, which works the reverse. When price goes up, demand goes up. So for the wealthy, they do this. Demand goes up and price goes up, and they buy the luxury goods. Right? So just an anomaly, which is out of the norm. You know, when price goes down, people buy more. But in this case, price goes up, and the consumers buy more. Thirdly, let us look at quality, or what I call perceived quality. But what is quality? Quality is referred to the standard of something measured against something similar. The standard of something measured against something similar. So for example, a 40-inch television of one brand compared to the television, a 40-inch television, another brand. So these are comparing similar items. So we measure the quality. Quality is what can be factual, and quality can be subjective. In other words, if you think this television plays clearer and it is of a higher quality, and somebody else looks at another television and thinks this one is clearer and it's of high quality, that's subjective. All right, we proceed. Our tastes vary. That's a fact. My taste and your taste, they're different. And our thinking is relative. What may be sweet for me may be even sweeter for you. What may be expensive for you may be inexpensive for me. Right? And manufacturers set standards, for example, for engine oil. So for the 40 grade oil or the 30 grade oil, whatever the grade of the oil is. The Centers for Disease Control sets standards and the protocols for vaccines, for medicine. So manufacturers or scientists don't go out there and make a product or a medication or a vaccine and say, well, this is it, that works. There are standards that they should go by, or they're guided by. The US Department of Agriculture, or the USDA, sets standards or quality standards for meats, poultry, etc., etc. So you go to the store, you may have seen prime, standard, natural, organic, etc., etc. There are standards which guide these products, and it's not arbitrary, they're guided. I'm saying all this to say that we are conscious as consumers of standards of goods and the services that we buy, and these standards help to guide us. And just a connection or a link with the price. Prime, for example, is more expensive than standard. So the price goes up for prime, and it's a little lower for standard. In America, we perceive products made in America as being superior, or as having superior quality, because the raw materials, the workmanship, are considered of a higher, or perceived of a higher standard. On the other hand, made in China is considered substandard, or as having a lower quality. Ding ding. A lot of the electronics, the household items that we use in our houses and we use on a day-to-day basis are made in China, albeit by US firms, but made in China. Question? Let's think about it a little. I briefly worked in a car dealership, and I came across individuals who would insist that they buy only made in America, or American products, American cars. And because they think it's of a higher quality. Interestingly, they will not buy a foreign car made in America, literally assembled in America. They will not. They will only buy brand name cars that are known to be American. The point? Perceived quality. Also, some consumers will only buy certified organic products of food because high quality espoused by the growers, the retailers, and the packagers. Ordinary or generic foods claim to contain too many chemicals, which could potentially compromise our health. At the end of the day, price sometimes impacts quality, however. As we proceed, let us look at the fourth factor, which influences what we buy. That is marketing power, brand. Marketing firms use sophisticated programs and algorithms to capture our interest, capture your interest, capture my interest. And as consumers, to translate this into sales for the companies they represent. It is. Whether it is conscious, whether you're conscious of it or you're not conscious of it, they use certain things, algorithms, as I said, and programs to attract and to get your attention so that you buy the products that they from the companies that they represent. You see the commercials on the billboards, the television, you hear it over the radio, you see it on social media, you see it on your cell phone, you see it wrapped around cars, etc., etc. They are all over. And whether or not you believe their effectiveness, they work. And they somehow convince you, as I said, somehow convince you to buy particular products. This product instead of that product. Activities and thoughts in our conscious mind and our subconscious mind influence some of your purchases based on what you see, based on what you hear. It can be simply informative advertising or persuasive advertising. They affect us in some way, somehow. Like I said earlier, we sometimes specialize in what we do. There are some teachers who are not farmers, so they have to buy the food from the grocery store or from the market. Most of us do not manufacture cars, but we use cars, so we have to buy the cars. But again, there are other factors that determine which type of car we buy based on price. And we will also look at the lowdown. We will look at the peripheral factors, as I said, that influence them. There's online shopping, there is delivery, and there is a claim of free shipping. Free shipping? This may or may not be true. Sellers have a particular way of including the cost of shipping in their goods so that we are attracted by the word FREE, which may not necessarily be true. In some cases, sellers will cut or lower the markup in order to attract you. So in that case, it helps. They may take off a certain percentage of the shipping and tell you that it is free. This can determine where you buy, but a lot of times, what you buy. Let us look at brand. What is a brand? We associate products with names. There are some popular brands such as Coca-Cola, Nike, iPhone, and we can also look at other popular brands that you associate with on a daily, day-to-day basis. They are popular. They are associated with quality. They are associated with trust. They are associated with satisfaction. Because of these and other characteristic features, we buy these goods. We think they're great. The brand name are outstanding. We are familiar with them, and they somehow attract us to buy the goods associated with the brand names. Owning, wearing, driving some of these brands or brand name products bring a certain level of pride and position among our friends and our neighbors, so that we become conspicuous, we become outstanding, and we can say yes. All right, let us look at the fifth factor, taste. And some of these are interrelated, so as I go along and explain, you will see their interrelatedness. Take a minute and think about your preferred or your favorite holiday spot, your candy, your meal, your drink, the sport, your type of dress. Think about it. Your favorite drink, your favorite meal, your favorite holiday sport. Are you done yet? I know you're thinking. Now, lots of thoughts going through your mind. Your taste creates a certain bias which directs you to buy this particular product or to pay for this particular service. Sometimes over and over again. This makes you a repeat customer. And repeat customers normally are translated into loyal customers. You become loyal to the brand because of your unique taste. In some countries like the Caribbean, like in the Caribbean, parents tend to determine the preferred taste for their children by insisting on their own choice. And that's, I'm from the Caribbean, so I know what I'm talking about. But in the US, the child is more liberated to make his or her own choice early on. Isn't that true? Of course it is. Your taste can be shaped by the choices that are available. The more choices you have at your disposal will determine your choice of product or service that you consume. A limited range can sometimes hinder your options and compromise your taste. But the bottom line is, your taste matters when making a purchase. Now, sellers know what you like. They know your taste. They keep track of your purchases. They know which products have a faster rate of turnover on the shelf. So they replenish the shelves more often. They buy these products. And manufacturers know what products that they sell the most, and they continue to supply it. So they have all this data on all of us as consumers. So they know what to produce, when to produce it. Because they know our preferred tastes. In the sixth and last place, we have what I call peripheral factors. Friends and neighbors. Some people will do anything to live like the Joneses in an attempt to look and maintain an image that is like the neighbors. We buy similar cars. Isn't that so? Similar lawnmowers, similar bicycles for our children, etc., etc. It may not be deliberate, but we have to walk the walk. That's how society is. You don't want to be the odd one around. Although some people don't care. If your friends upgrade, or your friend upgrades his or her cell phone every year, you're tempted to do the same. So that, just think about it. And I'm not talking about young people only. I'm talking about grown folks. You make the effort to keep up. Again, you don't want to be the odd one around, so you indulge in brand names, brand name products. Think about it. Again, not everybody is the same. Not everybody will go this way. But it is a common practice that we want to be like our friends, and our friends want to be like us. As I said, to be fair, not everyone behaves that way. But we know women love to shop. That's a whole topic by itself. And men? Now you're scrutinizing me. I know that you're scrutinizing me, what I buy, how I buy, so on and so forth, or what affects me, or my choice of products that I buy. Some actions are generated in our subconscious mind, and they impact what we buy, the psychological impact. Yes, I alluded to wanting to relax, so we buy a particular movie. You won't, I mean, it varies for people, but typically you won't buy or rent a horror movie or look at a horror movie to relax. Nah, it creates some fear and some excitement. And so to recap, we looked at the 6 factors that influence what we buy. We looked at price. We looked at, firstly, we looked at money, its availability, how much we have, that is the disposable income. We looked at price. We look at price quickly helps us determine what we buy and the quantity as well. Perceived quality, thirdly. If we think that quality is high, we are tempted to make that purchase. Marketing power and brand. There are forces out there that attract and influence what we see and hear, and that translates into sales. Taste. Your taste drives you to buy that particular good or service and no other. And finally, we look at peripheral factors, that is the impact friends and neighbors have on what we buy. I hope that gave you some clarity, some little awareness of what goes on in our lives and how we relate to business and how we impact businesses. You can determine what a store stocks and does not stock, because your taste, your money, what you see around you from your friends and neighbors, they impact or influence what you buy. If you love this video or this episode, please subscribe, like, comment, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Until we see you another time, all the best. Bye.